Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. All the students who have joined to get information about Ashoka University. Our first episode of the Campus Insider. Everything you want to know about the BA, B.Sc in Ashoka University, we are here to provide you with the information. And we have three lovely students with us. Okay, one by one, they would be introducing yourself to give you an understanding of what kind of profile the student have, and what kind of students Ashoka University is kind of selecting. Okay, starting with the senior most student we have here, Vedika Hingorani. Vedika, please, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Vedika. I'm in my second year currently at Ashoka University. I did my 10th and 12th from Jamnabai Narsi School in Juhu, and I secured 96.6 in my 10th standard and a 98.8 in my 12th standard. I went through humanities, so I had psychology, sociology, history, English, and math as my subjects in the 11th and the 12th grade. And right now in Ashoka, I'm pursuing a psychology degree with a minor in entrepreneurship. In terms of extracurricular, something that I have been doing is playing Scrabble at an international level. So I have represented the country and also played a lot at a national level. So that is something that was brought up even in my interview as well. Additionally, I like dancing, and I have hosted a few events and taken part in being the organizing committee for events like Cascade, taken part in a months. So all of that is part of the extracurriculars that I had when I was applying to Ashoka.
Fantastic. That's quite a profile. And I think it was very humble when you kind of took a break to mention in 10th you got 96, which is still a very good number. Next, Garima, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Garima. I am studying economics and finance at Ashoka, and I just finished my first year. So I'm also from Jamnabai Narsi School. I secured a 96.8 in my 10th and a 97.5 in my 12th. In terms of extracurriculars, I play badminton and I sing. I have a junior diploma in Indian classical music, and I have played badminton at a district level. I also play chess. So these three were the things that came up in my interview. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Garima. And yes, Aditi, please, would you like to introduce yourself?
Surely. Hello, I'm Aditi Namdar. I did my entire schooling from Delhi Public School, Navi, Mumbai. And I took commerce with mathematics, standard mathematics in 11th and 12th. I secured a 98.4 in 10th and again in 12th. And aside of that, I did pursue swimming at a competitive level. I graduated with a graduation degree of sorts, which is Arangetram in Bharatnatyam. And alongside that, I as well participated in a lot of months. Something that frequently came up in my interview and my application processes throughout was some of the leadership positions that I had held. So this is all about me.
Thank you so much for introducing all three of you. One thing which is pretty highlighting is the fact your numbers. Okay, so when students are applying for Ashoka, okay, now we would kind of discuss about what exactly, your profiles are very, very good. Okay, so let's start with your journey. How you kind of decided to go for Ashoka University. Okay, let's again start with the senior, Vedika. Why and how you decided to apply for Ashoka University? What was your journey like?
So I think I found out about Ashoka University in my 11th standard. And that's when I started reading more about it, looking up their website, looking at the events they do on Instagram, talking to a couple of seniors who had gone there. And I think that's when I fell in love with the entire liberal arts curriculum. And I really enjoyed the way they, conduct their classes, the amount of freedom they give to their students, and the amount of emphasis they put on critical thinking. And I think that is something that I found lacking in the Indian schooling system. And that was something I wanted to be my main focus when I go for my degree. So once I found it, I think I started reading more about it. And then my mother insisted that she must visit the campus before I apply, because she was like, it's in Sonipat, you cannot go, it's unsafe. So in 2020, we visited the campus and we did a campus tour. And after I saw the campus, I was like, there's no way I'm not coming here. And I think that's when I just decided for me it was Ashoka.
Fantastic. What about you, Aditi? How come you decided to go for Ashoka, and what were your options?
I think Sanika ma'am would be able to best describe my journey. So I had I'd rather start by stating that last time this year, Ashoka was nowhere on my list. I never thought I'd be in that institution. So I had a very DU specific goal throughout my school life, throughout 11th and 12th. I specifically prepared for CUET. That's what I joined IMS for. And so I did struggle through the CUET preparations in June, July. This was during this time, that's all that was on my mind. In fact, even after getting into Ashoka, by the way, I applied on the last day in the last round. And that's when I did not really expect to get in, but I did not really expect to be there. But when I got in, I did go to Ashoka. Even there, for the first few months, because the CUET results and the entire process was ongoing, I did have DU in my mind, and I believed Ashoka to be a temporary phase. But I believe after the entire phase of the CUET results, and after I visited a few Delhi University colleges, I somehow realized that the last 2 months that I had spent in Ashoka were at a new intellectual level altogether, something that this sort of exposure, I don't think I would have gotten from anywhere else in India. And so that's how, after having experienced the college, I really came to the realization that this is the place I would want to be. So that was my journey.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aditi, for that. And yes, Garima, we would definitely love to know about your journey. How come you decided on Ashoka?
So similarly, like when I applied to Ashoka, I applied in the third round and I didn't really think I'm going to go. I just thought, okay, I'm just going to I applied to it as a backup. And my specific aim was also DU. And I also applied to NMIMS. So I did get into NMIMS Christ. I also got into LSR for mathematics honors. But then I spoke to a lot of people and I weighed the pros and cons and everything. And I realized Ashoka gives you the kind of education that's going to develop the certain soft skills you need in the in the long run. And like those soft skills, like thinking, it's like not, they train you how to think, not to think this specifically. So I think that's what Ashoka teaches you. So yeah, that's how I decided, like Ashoka is it gives me the kind of skills and exposure that I need in the long run, whether I'm going to try to get into the big companies or going to start my own business. So yeah.
Great, great. I am sure, the decision of getting into Ashoka is separate, but the process of getting in Ashoka would start with the application process, and is kind of a very intimidating for a lot of students, because not all of them, or this is like the first time when a university is introducing some real introspective essays and then the LORs. How was your experience, Vedika? Let's start with you. 2 years, 3 years back when you applied for Ashoka, it was completely new compared to the universities we have. So, how was your experience, and how did you cope up with the whole, how did you manage the essays and, the other things which are required for Ashoka?
Right. So unlike Aditi and Garima, I actually applied in the first round. And
First round, okay.
yeah, and I was like, it was my goal to get into Ashoka. So obviously I put a lot of stress on myself to get the essays right. And touchwood, I had the help of my my guidance counselor from Jamnabai, who really helped me through my essays. But I remember the one thing that helped me was just reading them again and again and again, and going as deeper into myself, and finding where what thought comes from, like tracing any action that I do to a thought, and then to where that, like what belief that could have come from. And that was the question that they asked us in our year, which was to question a belief that we had and talk about how our thinking process was. And that's literally all they wanted to read. I think the first few drafts I wrote them in a very ISC sort of way, where I was using flowery language. and, using the most, like I was literally keeping a dictionary open on the side and using fancy words and trying to make like elaborate points. And I think, but at the end, what I submitted was a very simple English, broken down essay of just my entire thought process. And I think that was the entire journey that it took, where they don't really care if you have even the right grammar. It's just about your thought process and how you can actually nurture your thought process and how you can display that to them. And that's what they're looking for. In terms of the LOR, I submitted, the rest of my friends all got LORs from their teachers in school. But the one thing that Ashoka allows you is that it can be anybody in your life. So I took my Scrabble coach because that was something of my, like, that was a part of my journey that I wanted to highlight. So my LOR came from my Scrabble coach, who has literally seen me since I was a child and grew up to be 17 or 18 years old as I was when I applied. So I think that gave them a very real perspective into me. Also because it was a very personal essay, because he's someone who's a huge part of my life. And I think that is also something that, like, gave me a little bit of an edge over others, if I'm being honest.
Thank you so much. And that's really great. What about you, Garima?
So for our year, we had the prompt, which was, what is an idea, concept, or theory that you find interesting and why? And in what ways you've engaged with the topic. So first, I thought of a very like deep, dark topic because of all the reels that are on Instagram. Okay, maybe, I should highlight personal experiences in a way and this, that. But then I spoke to Sanika ma'am after that. And then I realized, so throughout all of my essays, I've just highlighted me as a person and how so basically I've shifted 3-4 times in my life, and I've like gone to 6 different schools. So like I spoke about how people oppose change and how I have learned from change throughout my life. And so basically on those lines. And so my interview was mainly, it was very, very, it was not technical at all. It was very like, let's get to know you on a personal basis. So because throughout my essays, it was like me and my personal experiences were highlighted more, because usually, I mean, that's also completely okay to like go on a theoretical topic and talk about an idea or a concept that interests you. But like, so this was my job.
Okay. What about you, Aditi?
So before I begin, I'd really like to state is that there's one mistake that I did, and I think nobody should do, is to offset the essays. I kept it for the last day. And there's one thing really particular about this entire admission process is that our opinions are likely to change. We begin with one particular opinion, one particular dream, which we might have set like 2 years ago. And then we just keep following that, chasing that, but it's likely to change during this admissions process. It's the most metaphors. There's a lot of metaphors that happens during this process as such. So speaking about the essays, I think it's really important to be candid. There was this one very important question in our application, which was about 5 books that you've read over the years, which have really been game changing for you. So I, for one, am not into reading books. I do not read novels or any fiction for that matter. I'm more of readings when it comes to readings. I read mostly academic papers, news articles. So I'm more into current affairs. I was very candid in leaving all those 5 blanks empty because I did not want to mention any Roald Dahl books that I had read in my primary. So, and I knew that question was going to come up during my interview as well. And I had to approach that in a more thoughtful manner over why I didn't really read any books. But it's really important to be candid after all. Aside of that, one of the, as Garima mentioned, the question on ideas, I did have a technical answer for that. Is one specific economic idea that interests me. So my interview did happen to be technical. And again, building on Garima's idea over there, that it does not really have to be something very massive of an idea or a personal event. So we had one question on any personal event that has really changed you. And over there, I mentioned this one-hour talk that I had with my father when he taught me this poem, If by Rudyard Kipling. And it was just that entirely that came up in my interview again. So it does not have to be something really massive or something really life-changing, but something that's very personal to you. And that should go there. And that's how it will come up in the interview again.
Absolutely. The outcome for all, whatever you have said in terms of admission, is very clear that when it comes to the essays are concerned, essays are very crucial. Do not leave the essays at the end. Make sure that it is being focused on, because whatever you write, you would be cross questioned. That's your belief. And then it will definitely be kind of questioned when it comes to Ashoka is concerned. Okay. I definitely, remember the time when Garima and Aditi got through Ashoka. It was really a good, happy moment. And what I am very keen to know is, what was the first day like? Okay, let's start with Garima first, so you can recollect Vedika, because it's been good 2 years now. So, Garima, what was the first day like with Ashoka? How was it different than the other universities?
So I mean, without it doesn't need to be said, but I was very sad about like leaving home and everything. So I was holed up in my room at the beginning of the day, and then my roommate came in and she's just like, "Oh, you want to go? There's like the event happening. I don't remember which event exactly." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go in some time. Why don't you go ahead?" And she was like, "No, no, no, come, come, come. We'll go together. I can't see you sad anymore." And I was like, "Okay." And then we decided to go. And then I think what was different about the atmosphere at Ashoka was it's very happening. Like everyone was there on the mess lawns. There was music, and everyone knew that they were sad, and there was this big whiteboard where everyone could write how they're feeling in the moment and all of that. So we all went there, and then I saw how everyone's feeling pretty much the same way. But everyone was just trying to lift each other up and just make each other feel better. So yeah, and then like I hung out with my friends and we just sat and we spoke, and like whoever was there was this one person who actually cried, and then we were like, "Listen, it's okay, we're all here." So I think it was like that. Yeah.
Okay, so when you just mentioned about the music, so was it like a freshers party? Aditi, you were also there, I think, at the same time. So was it like a freshers party going on in there? What was the vibe like?
So the freshers party actually happened about 1 or 2 weeks later. It was not in the first week. The first week at Ashoka is generally treated as the 0 week or O week. I'm not sure. And in that is there are more of like a lot of induction processes that is happening, in a sense of like a lot of professors coming and talking about their department. That is one of the things. And there's a lot of open houses, town halls that are happening, so that people get to know about the process in general. Because as a model of education, it's very complex that way. So nobody is expected to know everything beforehand. We do get to know about it on the go. In fact, even today, we don't know all the complexities of the various academic opportunities and options we have. We keep on getting that as we grow through the years. And aside of that, there's one thing that was really different for me was that I came to the campus 3 days later, because before experiencing Ashoka, I was experiencing some other college as well. And even though I was there 3 years later, and I was really apprehensive if I would not be able to gel in, because people might have formed their own friend groups and I'd be left out, etc. My first day was one of the most happening days of that entire semester. So I did meet a lot of new people, given that the batch size is so huge. I do not even remember the people I met on my first day. So that's how diverse and interesting it was on the very first day itself.
Fantastic. Vedika, coming to you, what was your first day in Ashoka like for you? 2 years back now.
My first day was actually online, so I did not have much
All right.
experience. I just had to get up and join a Zoom call. So if you don't mind, I'd rather speak about my first day when I was when these guys came in, because I was actually a cohort leader. So what Ashoka does when a new incoming batch is coming in is that they appoint a leader from the senior batches, and two of them for a batch of about 20-25 new incoming students. And the whole point of that process is because O week is very grueling. Like they have one lecture at 10 p.m., 10 a.m., then at 11, then 1, 2, and like the entire day is packed with them just being bombarded with information about Ashoka. So it is a little hectic. And so the cohort program is more for them to just come and, talk to them as seniors and like ask all the questions they have about maybe dress code or something that they can't ask a professor, any random questions that they have, ask us about what we think about a certain professor, stuff like that. And the entire week we had meetings with the cohort groups. So like I formed quite a nice bond with a lot of the students who were in my cohort. And I think this entire process actually helps settle into campus a lot easier, because you get to have, at least more than anything, you get to have a place to go to for dinner. So even in the first week, like that's what some of our seniors told us, like a lot of people who are struggling to make friends or who are scared of like the social situations and stuff, a lot of times they don't have company for meals. So one thing we did as cohort leaders, at least in my cohort, was that we made sure we were free during all the meal times, so that if they need any sort of company, we're there. And it makes the entire process of sitting in the mess, going and figuring things out a little easier than, it would be otherwise.
I think it will be very fair to say that Ashoka makes sure that students are comfortable and kind of just, it's a very organic process, what they do to make sure the student is comfortable and settled in the campus. Coming to the campus part, we have seen a lot of pictures of campus, Ashoka campus being huge, but is there a specific point for all three of you which becomes your favorite to kind of hang out? And what is the campus vibe like? I'm sure students would want to know if they're planning to apply next year, or a lot of students here who would have been possibly selected for Ashoka. Starting with you, Vedika.
I actually love our campus. It's not that big. I think it's just the right amount, in the way that
Okay.
you don't have to walk too much, but you still have to walk a decent amount. And
Okay.
I think, as Garima said, the mess lawns are quite lively in the evenings, especially when the weather is nice. Like you'll see everybody out or having small picnics on the lawns. And I think that's definitely my favorite spot on campus. Yeah.
What about you, Aditi?
So one favorite spot for my friend group is as such a spot that I cannot really mention on camera. It's a secret spot that we
Okay.
really enjoy, but I'm sure they'd figure it out in their first week itself. It's the highlight of the campus.
All right.
One of the highlights of the campus. Apart from that, so it's not a favorite spot as such, but there's something that one of my seniors told me before I came to Ashoka is that for some, the library might be a really exhausting place because, or rather, it might induce a lot of apprehensions the first time you step into the library as a first-year student, seeing so many people study so hard, study rigorously, and sitting there for hours. But I think by the end of my first year, I can say that it's a chill place in itself. Come in with the right set of people or come in alone or anything. You'd see people who are struggling along with you, who are really pacing with it through you. So that way, it's also a collaborative space. So while the first visit might be a little scary, it'll get better eventually.
Okay. What about you, Garima? It's been a year now you are in Ashoka. What exactly you could consider a very good and a hangout spot in the campus?
I think library cafe is a great like spot because there you can study, but with like a group, and you can also just chill with your friends, and it's like the right amount of noise if you want to do some light studying, or you just want to, because like every time you go to the library cafe, you're always going to meet someone you know, and then you're always going to like strike up a conversation for like 5 10 minutes. So like it's a great spot when you have nothing to do, you just want to go there and then you'll meet somebody you know, or if you want to do some study. So it's a good spot. I think both of them will agree.
Great. Now coming, getting off the campus and talking something which I am sure a lot of parents and students really want to know is Ashoka is very different from a normal university, considering the academic, because it's on a liberal studies format. Okay, foundation, major, minor can actually be very confusing for a lot of students. So what I want to understand from you, starting with you, Aditi, what was the first year, as in the foundation course, how exactly it is, and if both of you would like to possibly add into this particular question or answer, how exactly the foundation course is being selected? Are you given subjects you can select yourself? Is it a help which is provided? So how exactly the first year foundation course works like?
So liberal arts education in itself can be really complex, and it's very new to India. Not a lot of us know about it. So in fact, some of us believe that I particularly have this belief is that it is a mix of all, and like it'll end up making you a jack of all, master of none. But that's absolutely not the case. It's as in depth as any other form of education, and the fact that you get to choose what you like is a very big plus point in itself. And coming to the foundation courses, so the first semester at Ashoka, you get to do only FCs. 4 FCs is what everybody has to compulsorily do. After which you get to choose your major minor courses alongside your FCs. So for our batch particularly, we have 9 FCs or foundation courses in all, which are very diverse, ranging from something like grade books, lit in the world, which is literature in the world. Then there'll be principles of sciences. There'll be some of quant, etc. And I'm sure the others are listed on the website. And so the entire process of choosing this is guided through the Ashoka's portal, which is AMS. And so there's a very distinct format of how do you really choose a course, the professor, the time slot that you want to go for, etc. I do not want to load them with all of this information right now. It'll be covered in the initial week itself, because it's difficult to explain it without the screen. But it is a very systematic process. It'll happen at its own time. For the first entire week, you'd be introduced to various forms of courses and professors, etc. So you'll be able to select it eventually, and you'll have a decision by the end of the week when you have to register for the courses. So as well, do not be in a hurry to select your courses in the first for the first semester, because it's not on first come first serve basis. It's on a randomized basis. So you'll be able to guide yourself via the induction processes and a lot of things that are carried out in the week itself. So it's not that as complex as it seems.
Garima, would you like to add
Yeah,
something to
I
the
just want to
answer?
add that so we have 9 foundation courses as we said. So like even under like mind and behavior, there's like a course named mind and behavior. So even under that, you have the freedom to take either a philosophy course or a psychology course. And like you have 2-3 options there, and they list out the different readings and the possible trajectory of the course. And you can see if it suits what you want to learn, and like it aligns with whatever you want to pursue and learn at the university. So there's like a lot of freedom there, and you can always, no matter what the course is, you can choose what you like. And like, yeah, the selecting of the courses and all, you guys will be explained everything. So I took a lot of stress in the first week when it came to that. So I'm just saying, like, you'll figure it out.
Okay. What about you, Vedika? The first year, would you like to add something to just give a perspective to the students?
Yeah, just if you want a little bit of insight onto on the process. So let's say in our year, I think we had 27 courses that were being offered as foundation courses. And okay, let's take Indian civilizations so you have 9 main foundation courses. So Indian civilizations is one of them. Now, this same course is taught by 3 different professors, 2 under history and 1 was under philosophy. And all of them have their own take on their version of Indian civilizations. So what you have to do is like each foundation course is offered by multiple professors in their own path. So even mind and behavior is offered by the philosophy department and the psychology department. Now, depending on what you like, you have to arrange all of these courses from 1 to 27 in terms of your preferences. And I think, as Aditi said, then it's a standardized process, and they try to give everyone in the batch as much of their top preferences as they can. So there's really no way to rig the system or anything. You will just land up with whatever. But one thing that Ashoka has that I think a lot of other universities also do, but it's very standardized in Ashoka, is shopping week. So the first week of classes is the time where you can drop a course, you can pick up a new course. It's called shopping week because you're allowed to go and sit for a class, decide if you want to go take it further, look at the attendance policy, see if that is what you are looking for. Talk to the professor, have a chat with them, see if they are the type of professor you want to learn from. And if you don't, you can just drop it without any consequences and take another course. So that is something that Ashoka really gives you the freedom with, because the entire week, like that's what the week is meant for.
Wow, this sounds good. This really sounds good. However, I remember once Aditi joined Ashoka. Okay. Uh, I spoke to her. I think there was a lot of uncertainty when Aditi and we spoke, and I just wanted to check on her if she's fine and kind of all going well. And she mentioned that, ma'am, it's good, and it's overwhelming, but in a good way. Okay. So what I want to understand from each of you is it like too pressurizing? Overwhelming in a good way is good, but is the academic rigor pretty high? Garima?
So at the start, you will feel like, okay, everyone is like full of ideas and like, why am I not being able to think of anything? Is everyone here smarter than me? But that's natural. Like, you're in a new place. And of course, like people have a better hand at some things than you do. And that's okay. So it takes a little time to get used to that, but I don't think it's that rigorous. I think you can find a good balance between academics and social life, at least in the first year. I've heard second year is worse. So yeah, I think at the beginning it's going to be a little intimidating, but with time you'll feel better and you'll figure it.
Aditi, yes, I would want to know what exactly was overwhelming.
So I think the part that was overwhelming for me was that there were too many things going on in the first month, in the first week, or for the first half of the semester in itself. While I had to select courses and I had to like make my select courses and put my preferences there. At the same time, there were some other inductions for some clubs that were happening or something of that sort. Well, that's a few weeks later, but that all of it just seemed to be coming at the same time for me because as well, I was not mentally prepared to be in that space. That is probably why it was overwhelming for me. But in itself, it can just seem a little complex. But the overwhelming in the good way, the second part of the sentence was that I was really excited over what was coming up for me. So that is why it was overwhelming in a good way. There were just so many things that I never thought I could have. The 12th standard Aditi did not imagine that she'd be doing these things. So that is why it was overwhelming, but in a good way.
Great. But with the kind of rigor which Ashoka has in terms of studies, what exactly your day looks like? Starting with you, Vedika, what exactly your day look like? Do you get time to breathe? Do you get time to have fun? Or is it all study and no play?
I don't think it's all study and no play, definitely. Um,
I'm sure that will be, this is good, but we would want to know what exactly,
yeah.
the day looks like.
So this semester, for example, I had 10 classes from Monday through Friday. So at least that gave me some sort of a schedule, which is hard in Ashoka because you pick your own courses. So there are times when you'll have 3, 4 courses on one day, and another day will have like one course or one class. So the striking a balance with your timetable is hard because sometimes you just want your preference and you don't tend to see how that will fit into a balanced schedule. But touch with this time, I had a very balanced schedule because I was waking up at 9:30 every morning. And so usually I'll go have walk around mess lawns, get a drink, maybe a fresh juice, and then I'll head to class. And then I had a break, and then my next class would be around lunchtime. So again, during lunch, I'm sitting with my friends, talking to them. We're usually sitting in the lawns, or we'll sit in the mess and we'll eat lunch together. So that also becomes a social activity. Then we have classes. Then I'd probably go to my room, study for a bit, maybe go to the gym, and then again for dinner you land up. I think that's one thing I realized, that I just merge all of my meal times with my friends, so that always makes it a social activity, but you're also getting work done because you need to eat. And I think that is something that's really helped me, keep my life in check, because then I'm able to balance the social aspect of life with, and then I also have 1 or 2 hours to study because I need to do my readings for the next day. And so I think it works out. Like, it's worked out for me. It is overwhelming, but I think it's also overwhelming for those 4 months that you're there. But then you also have a 3-month break to recuperate. So it genuinely just balances out.
Okay. This is going to be a very interesting question for students who possibly, for them it becomes a very important thing. Is there a dress code? A dress code. By the way, universities do have dress codes, so is it something which Ashoka follows? Garima, please, you're smiling a lot. Please, can I get the answer on this?
Yeah, because I take every day as an opportunity to dress. So there's no dress code as such. You're free to wear whatever you want. But so like for classes, you just try to wear, a little more like what's socially acceptable. No one's gonna say anything to you, but whatever you like, you think is appropriate for class. And then yeah, like throughout the day, it doesn't really matter. You can wear whatever.
Fantastic. So here we go. There is no dress code as far as you are kind of decently dressed in class. That will be fine. I think it will be a very, very good news for students who actually look out for universities with that approach. Now, coming to the aspect which is, the festivals and the clubs in the universities. Okay. So does Ashoka have any kind of clubs where students join and kind of pursue their hobbies, extracurricular activities? Vedika, can you please let us know?
Yeah, Ashoka actually has like 50 plus clubs and societies. They have something with like any of your interests will align with one of them. And actually, if it doesn't, you can start a society or a club. Like it takes a year long, it's a year-long process, but they allow anybody to start a society or a club with any sort of interest that they have. So there's a baking club, personally part of the dancing society. So that is something I've been doing. And each club and society has their own like rules. Some of them are completely like participation based, like where you have to put an effort and you have to like go to the weekly meetings and stuff, and while others are just interest based. So if a group of people just really likes one particular thing, they have a group where they just discuss it, and then they can maybe have an event just to celebrate their love for it, but it's not really like time consuming, or it's not an added stressor. So you can really have your choice of clubs and society.
Okay. What about you, Aditi? What club are you a part of, and would you like to add something to that?
Certainly. So there are two distinct things over here. One is there are clubs, and the others are societies. So clubs are going to be more like activity based, and if I'm not wrong, societies would be some extension of an academic department to some extent. But Abhinaya, the society that Vedika is a part of, which it is a dance society. I think there is a distinction. I'm not really sure, but as such, like academic departments will also have some societies. So, for example, the economics department, it's not really an extension of the department, but there's an economic society which serves some academic purposes as well. So that's how there is a distinction between clubs and societies. So there's one thing that I've really notably experienced at Ashoka is that within clubs as well, the atmosphere is very comfortable. It is very welcoming for that matter. So I did speak to some of my friends from other colleges, and I realized that there exists some hierarchy based on seniority in a lot of clubs and societies of other colleges. As in, it's not there'll be a sort of a ceiling, a barrier between the juniors and the seniors in clubs and societies. But that's particularly not the case at Ashoka, at least for the clubs and societies I'm a part of. They are very, very approachable. Everybody over there is very approachable. Even leadership positions are very approachable. First year students can apply up towards the end of the semester, can also start to apply for leadership positions. And as such, so the meetings will happen towards the evenings after the classes are done. So that is how the day also looks like, starting with classes in the morning. And that's particularly a common point in the evening when everybody is free for a meeting. So given that there are a lot of collaborative spaces on campus, the meetings also end up becoming a social event in itself. So that's how fun this entire opportunity of clubs and societies adds to the day.
Fantastic. Can you help? There's a question from Harshita Agarwal. She's asking, do Ashoka has a Rotary club? Would you be able to help us? Garima?
Yes, Ashoka does.
Rotary club. And what exactly? Garima, do you know anything about the Rotary club there?
Yes, I am a part of it. So it's
Great.
called the Road Track Club, and we take up projects like on the Rotary level also. So we've gone to different villages around our campus, and we've distributed like stationery kits and like things like that. So it's based on like welfare for people around the campus, but also community services in the sense like on campus, building the community aspects.
All right, Harshita, I hope you have got your answer. It's basically okay. So Harshita is again asking. So it's basically a club in which we provide services to needy ones.
No, not necessarily. Like it also works on, like I said, building a community on campus. But there is a different club that's associated with helping the needy ones. Is it named? I'm not 100% sure. It's named, right? Yeah. So that club works on like providing resources and helping out the people.
All right. I hope Harshita, you have got your answer. Now, I want to understand in terms of, you know, campus. We discussed about campus and how exactly your fest. Okay, what about the festivals? Do they have a specific festival in Ashoka? Do they have kind of fest, or there are many fests? Uh, Vedika, would you?
The thing with Ashoka is that you're always entertained because every week there's something happening or the other, whether the economic society wants to host something or the Rotary club or something or the other is always going on campus. But in terms of fests, because we're just coming off being online, this year was the first year where they were having the fests in person. So we had Agnipat, which was our sports fest. We had Banjara, which was the cultural fest. And even though it didn't have the biggest turnout or it wasn't, the biggest event, it was still a huge event on Ashoka grounds for like the students of Ashoka itself. And I think it was our first taste of like, even for me, because the previous semester that I attended, I only attended 2 months of it. So I didn't really have much experience with fests and stuff. But this semester or this entire year that we had was the first proper on offline year. So there were a couple of fests. They also had an economic fest that was happening. And all of this, so you had different schools, different colleges coming in and participating in them. And also, like, that's what I said, it provided a really nice atmosphere for the Ashokan students as well. All of us got to even be involved in the planning processes. We could apply for the organizing committee. So I think that's very interesting.
I would just like to add, like, so colleges like BITS Pilani, SNU, Jindal, LSR, Ramjas. So these colleges came for like Agnipat Banjara and also the Economics Fest. So it, helped you meet more people and maybe like extend your social connections.
Aditi, would you like to add something?
Yeah. So while the festivals at Ashoka are a thing in itself, one good thing is that you also, being in Sonipat, being there near to Delhi, you also have access to the fests of other colleges. So that in itself is a good meeting and a networking opportunity as well. Going to competitions to other colleges also becomes easier, given that you're staying closer to the Delhi University, which is quite a hub of India in itself. So that's how you have an access to a lot of networking opportunities. But yeah, it's a very chill atmosphere, just like Vedika mentioned.
Okay, great. Now, let's speak about the exams or the grading systems, okay, and also the attendance policy, which was mentioned possibly by Vedika, okay, that you will have to speak. So, what I want to understand is, how is it like? How often the exams are held? Is it pretty draining? Would you kind of, Aditi, would you please want to kind of start? And Garima, you can add, to the answer.
I can take it up.
Please go ahead, Garima.
So this depends on the course you take. So some courses have relative grading, some courses have absolute grading. So relative absolute is where like your total score is counted and you get a grade based on that. Relative is basically where you stand in the class, but it's not that intimidating. I think I just sounded very scary. But we have exams. Some courses have exams throughout the semester. It's like quizzes that are taken as a component in your final grade. But some courses have like a midterm exam, a final term exam. So it's like that. So it depends based on your course. And most of the as per the attendance policy, mostly courses have like up to 4 absences. But again, it depends on which course.
Aditi, would you like to add something? So, are you trying to say that there is a policy of attendance which you're supposed to have certain percentage of attendance. Is it something which go?
So I think what Garima was trying to say was that it depends from course to course, professor to professor. So for one of my courses, there were zero absences, not even excused absences. For another courses, there was no attendance at all. For some other courses, because it was a economics game theory professor, he decided on taking group attendance and surprise attendances. So it's very diverse that way. It depends from course to course. In fact, attendance in itself happens to become one of the metrics while you're selecting courses, starting from your second semester, because then you want more time for self-study, and that's how you want attendance to be a metrics in itself. And coming to gradings and examinations, so again, that's very professor-centric and very course-centric. For one of my courses, which was an entrepreneurship course, we had to prepare an entire deck in itself, and we had to go and present it at the professor's office, who is the CEO of some company. So we had to go to her office in Delhi and then present it over there. For some other courses, it happens to become a group project or something of that sort. For one of my courses, we had to do a close reading of an academic paper and come up with strengths and weaknesses. So that's how it's really diverse that way. And it's not going to be a standardized system. There happens to be one midterm exam week, mid-sem week, and one end-sem week. End-sem week is typically when all examinations will be conducted. Mid-sem week is a break in itself, but there's also exams happening before that week or after that week. But again, it varies from professor to professor if they want to conduct an exam during then, or if they want to conduct an exam altogether. So this will be all of this information will be given to us prior the selection of the course itself. There's something called as a course description, which comes in during the course registration process. It comes before that. So you have all the information to make a very calculated decision as to whether you want to keep this course or not. So it's really fun in itself, making this decision and venturing out and reaching out to seniors for which course should you take, which professor is good, and everything in itself.
Vedika, would you like to add something to that?
I think they actually covered it very concisely. But yeah, it's basically everything is entirely professor based. Sometimes the professors also choose to have their own grading scheme. So sometimes in typical Ashoka grading scheme, anything above a 90 is an A. But some professors decide to make it harder and make it 95 up as an A, or make it easier and 87 up as an A. So it's entirely up to them. But that also gives you that also gives, like, as a student, you have a chance to like voice your opinion in a lot of courses. So in a lot of courses during the first week, they'll send out Google forms and say, okay, what type of grading do you want? Do you want a final paper? Do you want this? It doesn't happen every time because a lot of professors have their semesters planned out. But in a lot of psych courses, at least, they do take a lot of student feedback, and they'll ask us what type of grading we want, how we want the breakup of our grades to look. And I think, as Aditi said, like, actually choosing choosing between different metrics that the professors have given in the course descriptions is quite interesting, because you actually get to pick what you think is your strength. Like, if you think your essays are your strength, then you can choose a course where that's what they need from you. Whereas if you think you test very well on quizzes, then you can take a course where that is, more a bigger part of the grading. So yeah.
Okay, I am listening a lot about that everything, or course wise, everything is ideally decided by the professor. Are the professors very supportive, approachable? You can kind of go and speak to them. Who would like to add or possibly answer the question? Garima, what has been your experience? Are they supportive?
Yeah, they are very supportive. And so they have, like, even at the beginning of the semester, they've told all of us that if you have any issues understanding the material, or you just want to discuss the material and learn more about it or talk about it, you can always approach them. So we can book office hours with them, and they like give you like a scheduled spot, and you can just go into their office and have a chat for like 30 minutes about whether it's a question or it's just something you want to discuss. So yeah, they're very approachable. And like for my maths course, I had it with Suraj Shekhar, and he would explain the concepts in class. And like a lot of the times he would just give us a sum and tell us that, you go and, you think about the sum and you just come back to me later with the sum. So a lot of the people who had like problems that somewhat they did want to take the optional sum ahead and like think about it more, he always welcomed them for office hours, and he said that, just come to me and we'll talk about it. So like these professors actually have a passion for the subject, so it makes it much more fun to go in and just have a conversation.
All right. Okay. While we are discussing about it, there's Harminder Dhaliwal who's asking, how is IPM course at Ashoka? Okay. So Harminder, just to kind of give you information, there is no IPM course with Ashoka. You can take courses which is BA or BSc, or they have interdisciplinary majors which you can take with Ashoka. You can pick up courses with them. The content will be equivalent to a BBA, which is economics plus international relations. So there is no IPM. So if you are looking at possibly doing your MBA, you will first have to do your graduation, and then possibly if you want to continue with an MBA, then you would have to possibly study further with Ashoka itself. I hope that is answering your question. Okay, and coming to the placement aspect, yes, Aditi, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there is any program which is similar to IPM at Ashoka. I don't think there's an integrated way of bachelor's and master's at Ashoka. But so this is something that came up from one of my friends as well, who was applying this year. So if IPM or business in itself is one of your interests, then you can come to Ashoka and curate your major minor combination such that it becomes in itself parallel to an IPM course. Pick up some an economics minor, entrepreneurship minor, or possibly finance in itself. And that's how you'd really come up with your own accumulation of something that you deem right to be for a business degree in itself. So, but there's no IPM course, but then you can come up with your own combinations.
On that note, I just want to say something. At Ashoka, you can make your own academic trajectory. So, like, I know people with the weirdest combination. So, like, I have a friend who's doing economics major and an environmental science minor with like an IR minor, because she wants to go into policy making for a sustainable environment and things like that. So you can basically choose courses and choose a major minor based on what you want to do in the future. And like it's very like niche. So it does not have to be like, okay, you have to do economics or political science and that's it. So yeah.
Great. Vedika, would you like to add something to that?
I think they covered it perfectly fine.
Fantastic. So, coming to the most important aspect in terms of internships, okay, every student would be looking at placements and internships, okay. This becomes very crucial for students. So, when do Ashoka start with internships, or do they have internships, or do they encourage you for internships, or is it more of studying further? What is focus majorly placed on?
If I could just take this.
Yes,
I
please go ahead.
don't,
Ritika.
the one thing with Ashoka is that they don't push any sort of narrative on you. So it's not like they push you to study further or they push you to get into like start working. They just provide all the opportunities that they can to you. And then it's completely up to you what you choose. So they have this platform called Superset, which is where all of the companies that want to provide internships or even placements come and they register onto the company. And us as the Ashoka students, we have access to this. And every time there's an opening, they show us exactly what they're offering. There's a job description. There are also which tier company it is, whether it's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 company. And there's an entire process of how you can apply. So then they also let you know whether there'll be an interview, whether you need to go there in person and work for 3 months or whatever. And they give you all that information. And then it's up to you whether you apply or not. And that is the same portal where all of our placements will also take place, like for me in the next year and for Aditi and Garima in the next 2 years. So all of the placements also take place on this portal, and it's a very standardized process, I've realized. It's like once you upload your resume to apply, you literally just need to click apply and attach your resume, unless they have a prompt where they ask you to answer some questions or and then they receive all of your details through that. And you also have one Ashoka student from the who's interning with the CDO office, which is the career development office, who is your POC. So you can also be in contact with the company if you want to reschedule your timings and stuff. And it makes the entire process very easy, very like friendly to someone who's new to the whole thing, because also the person you're interacting with is just another classmate of yours as compared to interacting with, someone from the company itself. And then you get put in touch with someone from the company, and that's when you apply to, an internship or a placement. So yeah.
So when it comes to internship, it looks like a very, so the whole process or whatever conversation we have had, it's very clear that everything is pretty much set. Okay. Everything is kind of aligned. There is a process of everything, and nothing is kind of, so if you want to do something, there is a set process and a point of contact which would be available for each of you to possibly have a conversation with. One one last question which I wanted to ask. So after that, we can kind of. Mhm.
There's just one thing I'd like to add to the internship process. So sorry to bring this up, but this is one thing that was very relevant to me. Internships, the reach of Ashoka in itself, like the companies you can go to from Ashoka. So one really important part is the alumni base that Ashoka has created. Every company I looked at over LinkedIn, or every company I was willing to apply to, there'd be one alumni working there as a full-time, or somebody who has interned there in some way or the other. So the alumni base is so vast, be it a company in Boston or be it a company anywhere in the corners of India. There'd be some alumni working there, and that's how it becomes very easy to talk to those alumni as well, get in touch with them. And that in itself is a bonus point.
Yeah, and I just
That's
want to
Oh,
add
sorry.
one last thing. So, like a lot of people, so you can either do an internship, or a lot of people also take summer courses at Ashoka or even abroad. So Ashoka has a lot of partnerships with universities abroad, so you can take them on that and go abroad for a summer semester, or you can like go to Ashoka and spend a month there and take additional summer courses if you don't want to do an internship or along with an internship.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
if I can just add to that,
yes,
sorry.
please,
We have an
please go ahead.
entire office called the Office of GESP, which I'm actually working with, where they as she said, they have a lot of partnerships with colleges online, and even the semester abroad and summer abroad opportunities that they give. If you get a semester abroad opportunity from Ashoka, as in if you are nominated by Ashoka, you only pay Ashoka's fees, and you get to go study at a Brown, or you get to go study at LSC for that entire semester on Ashoka's fees. So you don't have to pay the 20, 30
Additional.
lakhs that they would probably ask you. You only pay the how much ever you would pay for Ashoka, and then you get to go. If you're nominated, you get to go to a particular university. And the other good thing that they do is that they take suggestions. So one of my friends wanted to go for a summer semester to Milan, but they didn't have any schools in Milan. So she found a school she was interested in, and she gave that to the office, and the office went and formed a partnership with them. And now she's going for a summer semester there. So they're also very helpful. They're very open to, forming connections that will help you. And they will form the connections on your behalf so that, you have better opportunities. So I think that is one thing Ashoka is, determined to do, is give you the maximum amount of opportunities that they can.
This is very interesting. So students who are looking forward to kind of study abroad or looking at that as an option, I think for them, Ashoka would be a very, good university to kind of join. We have Gavisha Singla who's asking a question. If you guys can help. I'm a little bit confused between pursuing a BBA course or BSc in economics and finance. I think she's mentioning the interdisciplinary major at Ashoka with an entrepreneurship minor. Would this be a good option? Who can kind of shed some light on it, Aditi, Garima?
Garima, would you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So economics and finance is a very popular course at Ashoka. So if you're comparing BBA with economics and finance, I think you need to think about what the course content of both is. So economics and finance is not at all about business administration, which BBA focuses on, right? So if you compare the two, I think, based on my personal opinion, that economics and finance would give you more opportunities for the, like, if you're applying for masters or even for placements, because I think it expands your knowledge, in the fields of finance and economics that BBA doesn't. So it will be more rigorous, but then again, it all just comes down to what you are looking for in your undergrad. Do you want to focus on business administration, or you want to look at economics and finance as your major discipline?
Okay.
Um,
Would you like to add something to that, Aditi?
Right. So, so what I would really recommend is that literally open a split screen, open the syllabus or curriculum of both BBA and Ecofin at Ashoka, and keep comparing between those two curriculums and syllabus, and make your own grade sheet, as in like give points to both of these. If there'd be this one subject in Ecofin that you really like, give 1 point to Ecofin, then 1 point to BBA for whatever subject they have. But there's one thing with Ecofin is that there's greater level of specialization than BBA, in specifically in economics and finance. And economics tends to become a little mathematical at Ashoka. At least during the first few sems, you'd realize this. And so if that is not your interest, there is no point struggling through the eco and the math or the fin at Ashoka. So it's wiser to make a decision based on what you really want to do after that, or based on whatever you want to do for your postgrad. And you can then use some backward logic to trace back to a BB or a BSc. But just bear it in mind that Ecofin will have a lot of specialization, which BBA will not reach up to.
Yeah,
I think
I just want to add one thing, that of course you can use your, like, what you want to do for postgrad, but a lot of people don't know what they want to do yet. So I think if you just focus on what are your interests right now, like if math is one of your interests, then Ecofin is a great course for you. But if, yeah, like she said, if you can't deal with math, you can't do Ecofin, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be struggling through it, because it is very rewarding, like whether it's based on the offers you can get at the end of your graduation from like universities abroad or in India, or with respect to placements. So yeah, it just depends on where you're interested.
Ritika,
Just
yes, please.
touching, I just wanted to touch upon the fact that if you do an entrepreneurship minor, because that is a very, very rewarding minor in Ashoka, especially because our faculty is great. Like, I think it has one of the best entrepreneurship faculties in the country, if I say, because they have half of IIM faculty coming in. All of these people are like tech CEOs with like who have all started their own businesses, or like are very, very big in their own businesses, and they come here to teach. And they also I'm saying sorry, they also offer a lot of opportunities to the students themselves. Like, they offer internships to their students, and it's an insanely good networking platform that the entrepreneurship department gives you. Like, I've personally taken a course with Aditya Ghosh, who's like, worked with Indigo and now is working with Akasa. And he was very, very approachable. Like, you got to pick his brain about the stupidest business ideas that you had. And I think that is something that you get in Ashoka that you won't necessarily get out there. So if, maybe starting something up new, like starting a startup is what you're into, then maybe really consider the entrepreneurship minor that Ashoka offers.
Okay. I think it's good food for thought for Gavisha, whatever question she has asked. Now, as we wrap up, I just want to know from each of you, okay, why a student should consider, because people do ask a lot of questions. Is it worth it? Is Ashoka worth it? Okay. So, just one last word from starting with Vedika. Why a student should consider Ashoka University? Is it really worth it?
I think it's an extremely personal answer. To me, I would say it was worth it because it's been extremely rewarding, and the way it's opened my mind up to things. And I think the way I approach the world has completely changed. It's changed me as a person, and for the better. And I think I'm more equipped to deal with the world and, to deal with problems and become a more responsible, independent person by myself, and just I think it's also an amazing experience to live away from home, and you learn so much about yourself. You get to interact with people from like different walks of life. But in terms of whether it's worth it, I think that's something even I'll keep thinking about, because I could have gone to Xavier's, stayed with my parents at home. I could have saved a lot of money. So I think it's just a very personal experience. Like, I don't think I would have gotten the amount of exposure and the amount, like, met the people that I did, or enjoyed myself, or even studied the things that I've studied in Ashoka anywhere else. So I think for me, it was definitely worth it, but it's definitely something to think about when you're applying.
Fantastic. Garima.
I think for me too, it was worth it. I think it's only been 1 year since I've gone there, but I have already I am able to think more wholly. Like, I think I'm able to think about things more deeper and really understand things around me. And I think that's very precious to me, because I think I'm developing as a person at Ashoka, not only like exposure wise, but also academically and also like socially. So it gives you the opportunity to, stay away from home and really find who you are, what you do, what you like, and like form your own thoughts. So.
All right. Aditi.
Yeah. So I think two very positive things about Ashoka is A, the student body, and B, the professors. So campus life, infrastructure, and all of these points were very auxiliary for me. I was okay with one building campus as well, as long as it's the best in the country or something of that sort, or it's meeting my interests. So a lot of these points were auxiliary for me. And in those 2 months where I was still in a very indecisive state about which university I want to be in, two things that starkly were on the top for me when it came to Ashoka was the student body, the type of intellectual base that everybody over here shares, and how collaborative everybody is. Be it any conversation that we're having with anyone, I can tomorrow go and interact with a physics major and really come up with something through that interaction itself. It might seem like a very minuscule point at this stage, but 1 year of interaction, and I can say that makes a difference. And secondly is the professors. So the experience that they come up with. Nearly every professor at Ashoka is a PhD holder, and I don't think any other university in India will have this faculty base. So this is something that was really important for me.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it definitely gives, whoever would be kind of watching this particular episode will definitely get a good insight on terms of the life at Ashoka, in terms of why they should consider, and, what exactly they would have coming, into their life when they're actually entering into, the university. And thank you so much, Garima, Aditi, and Vedika, for giving us time and speaking to us today. And you all the best for for your further years, and you all have a lovely day. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.